Yeah, that sounds
Right, well, good evening ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Highlands Astronomical Society live in-person meetings. We've taken on board some of your suggestions from the first time we experimented back in August, and you'll notice we're not on tiered seating, because I think people said it was a bit like a lecture theatre, and that's what we're trying to get away from. So we're down in very social little grouping, so we hope that's a little bit better tonight. Now tonight's plan is, I'm just going to do a bit of introduction. I'm going to go straight into Dave's activities stroke talk, which he will be asking yourselves to get involved in. We'll then break for a cup of tea and coffee and biscuits. Now that is, if you want tea, coffee, biscuits, that's going to cost us £2.50 each, unfortunately. We can't subsidise that. We did a calculation and it's stuck that way, so apologies if we actually said that and we can't meet that obligation. So a cup of tea, biscuits, sort of 10-minute chat, then I will go, during that time, I will go in and do the club news, and we've got lots of really good Astropics from last month. I was really surprised at how many we had, and they are excellent. So we'll do that, and then the time we've got left, which I'm hoping is going to be a good 20 minutes or so, we, the committee, are going to sit down with all you guys and have a chat about what it is you want from the club, because we want to shape it for you guys. We don't just want to be sitting in a committee meeting delivering what we think might be for you. We want to know what it is and what it isn't that you want. So we're going to spend the last 20 minutes informal chatting about the club, and that'll give us ideas. And I think we've got a committee meeting on Friday, and we'll try and put those ideas into action if we can. So tonight we have Vice Chair of the Society, Davidson. Many of you will know Dave, you'll have seen his pictures. Dave's a very, very keen astrophotographer, but he's also got a passion for observing, and he likes to keep things really simple. Dave likes to do astronomy, he likes to understand astronomy, but he doesn't like the maths and things of it, but he likes the fundamentals and the basics. And that's what he is trying to give over to you tonight. But I'm not going to waffle on too long. Dave, I'm just going to hand straight over to you. Dave, it's your...
Thank you very much, that was very, very nice of you to say so. Hi everyone. This is going to be as informal a thing as possible, so you already pointed out that lecturing is not such a great idea. Not everybody's into a lecture, so this is it's a conversation, as I call it. So during the time that we're going through all the bits and pieces, if you've got any questions, or you want to butt in, or you think I'm talking rubbish, then just stick your hand up and we'll take advice on that. So tonight what we're going to do is have a look at the theme. Is like, how do they do that? Because quite often you look at the stars and you think, well, oh, that's fascinating, it's terrific, and I wonder how far away they are, so look it up in a book, oh, it's 12.5 light years away. Well, that's good, and this is, there's so much information available to tell you what's what. But I wondered, how did they get to that? Where did they start? What did they use? And who did it? So, we're resting on the building blocks of what these guys did, particularly in the 18th century or towards the end of the 18th century. So, without further ado, how we know the distance to the stars is based on what they call the distance ladder. And the ladder starts with, it's based on this triangulation. It's just how people measure mountains and whatnot. It's a baseline. You measure the angle and you use trigonometry to get the height. So you can use all that for Earth-based things, but the stars, you need to use this parallax angle because they're so far away that there's no way to fathom what distance they are. But the fact that parallax works is a possible way of actually pinpointing a star's distance using trigonometry. Not that we're going to use trigonometry, believe me. If you can establish a parallax for a star and you know it's a fixed point in space, you know how far away it is, you then could say, well, can we use that to find out how far away the further away stars are? So, according to science, we use standard candles, which are these guys here, Cepheid variables, emission nebulas, type 1a supernovas, they're outside in other galaxies and so on. And you use the baseline, the parallax is your definite, and then you explain all this with, we'll have to do this bit by bit. Here we go. This is a parallax. So I guess everybody gets this already. You know, you use the Earth, the Sun, as your starting point, because we know how far it is to the Sun, one astronomical unit. There. There's the Earth. Or you just see if we can demonstrate that diagram there. So we've got our Earth and we've got our Sun, and over here is a star and our star background. So I'm going to need a helper here. Just to do help. Can you go? Fantastic. So I'm going to hold the Earth over here. Well, in fact, you hold the Earth over here with that line attached to it. So we go from our orbit around the Earth, takes the ceiling out of that. That's our one astronomical unit. That's the distance that the Earth would travel in its orbit in 6 months. So it will go form a baseline. So if we look out to this star, do that this one. So from there, looking at that star in a straight line, it's there. So 6 months later, you go round the Sun, right around, keep going, until you're there, that's right. And then we look at the star again, and it's there. Thank you. Right, so what could be simpler? All we've got to do now is measure how far apart those stars are. The star that we're looking at, how much is moved in a parallax angle, and use trigonometry to get a figure for d distance. Simple. Right, so to get some idea of, well, let's just assume that that's how it works. So then we can use the parallax to go on to how we measure the distance to the further away stars. And this is the standard candle principle. So see here, the headlights and the cars are identical, but one's further away, so they just, one would be dimmer. But then, so in principle, you would think, well, it would seem natural to think that the brighter stars are the closer ones, but that turns is headed for that out. So you see two stars. He sees this. It looks brighter because it's closer, and the other one looks dimmer because it's further away. So if you can establish how bright a star is intrinsically at a fixed distance, which you used to calculate by parallax, you then have an opportunity to use that to gauge distances much further away. Now, the luminosity and the colour of the star are linked, so you use star colours. This is called the Hertzsprung Russell diagram, if everybody knows about that. But it lists the stars which are of different colours. There's their spectral colour there, and their absolute magnitude. And you use that as a formula, for, you say, well, if that star is a certain colour, it's a certain brightness, and it's a certain brightness at a certain distance, then it's got to be further away than the parallax stars. Right, so I've got to skip through this because this is just to explain the basics of it. So Cepheid variables, they're another one in the distance ladder. And they have a regular period ranging from 33 to 30 days. And you have to calibrate them, so you have to know how far away the Cepheid is using parallax. And from there you can say, well, it's so bright, and it changes its brightness regularly. So anything that's a Cepheid variable that's any other distance away, its luminosity as you see it would be an indicator of its distance. So much further away, for they use this galactic rotation. So it gives the rotational speed of the galaxy and its luminosity. So according to this, the more mass the galaxy is, the brighter it is. That makes sense. And the faster it rotates. So if you're doing your spectroscopic Doppler effect, and if it's rotating, it's approaching or receding, you get a frequency from the luminosity to it, so therefore the observed apparent brightness tells you the distance. And that's the distance ladder. Now, this extends for an awful long way. So we've got parallax out to what's that, 1 kiloparsec, less than 1 kiloparsec. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then they're using spectroscopic parallax, which is the colour versus brightness versus absolute and intrinsic luminosity to do that. Then you've got your Cepheid variables and other types of variables there. The galactic rotation and type 1A supernovas. Now the idea of that is that they have a definite luminosity of like minus 19 something or other magnitude at 10 parsecs away. So you know how bright it is, so you can position them far away in space in other galaxies, of course. Right, so let's just take a quick look at this parallax thing. So, to demonstrate this properly, these scales here are far too, they represent the diagram. In real life, it's a completely different story because the distances are so big. So to do that, let's examine something here. So let's take away this sun and replace the sun with a football. and the Earth is a P. So how far away do you think I'm going to have to put P for it to be in scale? Any idea? Far away? Is that about right? Yeah. Further away. It's about 20 yards. So we're way out here. Yeah. So that's half our baseline, which we're using to measure the parallax to the distant star. And unfortunately, the star is much further away than this one is. If we change our scale again and take away the star, replace it with this, we have a very, very small Earth. It represents something like that. So again, we've got this baseline and the amount of movement that star will be against the background. Now, that star would have to be this size, like Alpha Centauri is roughly the same size as the Sun. So these two stars match each other in size. So scale is right, distance is wrong. That ping pong ball over there would have to be 750 miles outside that wall for it to be to scale. And the angle that you're measuring for the parallax angle is the equivalent of the distance between two pinheads an inch apart, about 120 miles away. So, a big tall order. Well, I think so anyway. So how did we manage to do that? Here's what we're measuring. 360 degrees in a circle. 21,600 minutes subdivided that minute into 1,296 seconds of arc. It's pretty small. So, okay so far? Okay, you understand this so far then? Yeah? Okay. So in order to work out the distance between the star movement, as we look at it from this find the parallax angle, you need to have a star chart, an accurate star chart. Because you have to look 6 months here, 6 months later, you can look at and plot the position of the star against the background. And in the old days, that's what they had as a star chart. Chinese star chart, hopeless. So they had to make better star charts. Very, very accurate star charts. And this is a modern star chart. Right, so how did they get from this to this? Well, they started off, I think, this is the 18th sort of century type of thing where astronomers were largely concerned with making star charts because that was what was necessary for accuracy. Because without the accuracy, you don't have any ability to use the positions to do real science that you can put your finger on and say, oh, that's absolutely, definitely true. So what they were using to start with is this is a mutual quadrant, which is effectively, well, what that is. It's just angle thing with, if you tilt it up and point at the star, you measure off the elevation of the star above the horizon, and you can plot that on your star chart. But of course, at this time, you don't have a star chart because you're trying to make one. So that's what it is. There's the telescope fitted on there. This is aligned with the meridian. And you swing the telescope down and measure the angle of there. Right, so if we have a look at the guys that were involved in doing all this, this is Bessel. He was the one that eventually found the definitive parallax for the star. We'll talk more about him in a minute. That was his apprentice, Argelander. Looks a wee bit old to be an apprentice, doesn't he? But this is obviously the way all in life goes. So these are the star charts that they managed to put together. And interestingly, his work was not surpassed until the 1960s, when the modern star catalogues came out, like that one. Don't look all that different. Well, the stars are in a slightly different position if you go right into the the minutes and seconds of arc and the crossroads. So that's our latest one. And this is what they started using to get the height of the stars to put them on a chart. It's called the meridian circle. You've got your telescope, looks at the star, and you measure the angle from the horizon to get its true declination. And this is a very, very detailed and finely tuned meridian circle. And they still use these things. So you can see it's got the telescope, it's got these circles. The circles are graduated obviously with the minutes and the seconds of arc, but you need a microscope to look at them. And there's the microscopes there, and they read the information on the circle. And to get it completely accurate, they use this as a bath of mercury, and it reflects the image of this at the back over there. The crosshairs in the telescope are reflected in the bath of mercury, which gives it a very accurate focus for getting that position right. And there's what you're trying to do. Meridian line, so all the stars pass in front of the meridian at some point. You catch the star on your elevation as you're watching it go past. You mark its position, and you now have a spot for the declination. And our angle is the time versus the transit of the stars as they go through the sky. So now you have a cross point. You've got a latitude and a longitude, if you like, where the star goes. And you have to now transfer that onto a sheet of paper to make your star chart. But whoops, we've got a problem. You can't do that because of this refractive problem of the atmosphere. So when you're looking at the star through the atmosphere, it looks like it's higher, and this is exaggerated of course, but it looks higher than it actually is. So if you just look at the star, put it on your star chart, it's not completely where it actually is. So you have to allow for that. Also got another problem, and that's what's called the aberration of light. You've got your guy here standing in the rain. As soon as he starts walking, the rain goes at an angle. Light appears to do precisely the same. It comes in, but because the Earth's moving in its orbit, you get an aberration. That's big. It appears to be 20 seconds ahead of the true position, so that's going to mess up your star chart as well. You actually have to offset the telescope to compensate for that. Again, wildly exaggerated here, but you get the idea. So, yeah, another problem. Stars are actually moving as well. So, this is Barnard's star in 1950. And if we compare its position to these little stars here, there's all the same stars, 2010, way out there. So that has to be allowed for it as well. So let's just jump back a wee bit. So this is how you make the star chart. There we go. My idea is that if we look at all these things and then say, well, if they could do it, why can't I do it? So, a long time ago, I did make a star chart, and it took 2 years to do, I think, maybe half of the northern hemisphere, the magnitude only down to the brightest stars plus 3 or 4 magnitudes beyond that. But what you have to do is get your position and then plot on this paper the left and right, the right ascension and the declination. And you could do that with a telescope like this, or you could do it with make a meridian circle if you could get it accurate enough. But this kind of telescope, if you get this pointed at the pole star, so you're in the axis of the Earth, and it's rotating about the axis to the North Star, and you can read off this tile here, and that one down there, what the right ascension and the declination of the star is, and just use the crosshairs on your eyepiece, and then transfer that using this to plot the positions of the stars. And it'll work out pretty well. But when it comes to finding the distance to a star, it's not going to be good enough, not by a long way. Because that's what these guys were using back then. Meridian circles with brass rings. And they weigh it out. And they had changed wood for brass and that more realistically accurate. But even the tiny, we're talking about splitting up 2 pins an inch apart, 120 miles away, so that your background has to be spot on. You can see that's not going to cut, is it? Or that. Anyway, along comes a guy called Fraunhofer, and whilst Bessel is spending all his time taking the star charts of Bradley and Babbage, who had created all these things, Greenwich, and they had, pretty definitive star charts, but they were full of errors. And Bessel spent most of his life just reducing the error by saying, while the instruments worn, the temperature was different, and then you took that one and that one, the humidity was wrong. correct for all that, and he also had to correct for our stellar light aberration and the refractive index of the atmosphere as well. So that's what he was doing. So anyway, the Fraunhofer, it's kind of fated that this all came about because, Bessel wasn't really a scientist as such, and not dedicated his life to doing that. He was chucked out by his dad when he was about 14 or something like that, and he had to go and work in a shipping office as a clerk. And his idea was that he would learn about these different countries, he would learn foreign languages, which he did, and he would go to China and see the world. But he was interested in the science, he was interested in how things work and whatnot. So, for example, he built himself a sextant out of bits of wood and used an old clock and worked out his own longitude in Greenland. And he was just ecstatic, he was just completely overwhelmed with the fact that he could do this. So it was only when he spent 2 or 3 years at the Clark that he continued with these things in the spare time, built up knowledge of how it all worked. But the most important thing that he did was he took some information about Halley's Comet, which had been in the previous couple of centuries, and he worked out an orbit for it, which is ascending, I guess. And from that, he gave it to a guy called Olbers, and he presented this to the astronomy world, and they were amazed. They thought, this guy is really going places, So he got a job at the observatory at Königsberg and continued with this stuff. However, the equipment was just not good enough. And fate played another hand here. Fraunhofer, I don't know if people see this, but he was orphaned at the age of 14 and forced to go out and work for a looking glass maker who was a tyrant of a guy. And that was pretty much his life. However, the building that he worked in fell down, and he was the only survivor of that. And the mayor of the town took pity on him, gave him some money, which he bought himself out of his apprenticeship and bought some books, and he bought equipment for making polishing glass, and then went off and spent ages and ages polishing glass until he came up with a flint glass 9.5-inch object glass of the quality that nobody had ever seen before. And it was installed in this door panel refractor. So there's a 9.5-inch lens. Now we've got a telescope that can positively see things that you could say, well, I guess that is in that spot. It's equatorially mounted, it's got micrometer adjustments, and yet wasn't enough to read saying, yes, we have the definitive parallax for a star. So he invented this thing. Now, I have to say, I find this really almost beyond my comprehension to explain how this works. But it's called a heliometer, and it was this Fraunhofer guy that invented this. And the principle of it is that you have two lenses side by side, and you use micrometers here to put the two images together and you measure the angular separation in seconds of arc on this thing here. There's the two lenses there. I'm not sure how that actually, you know, if you try and envisage it in your head, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But this was the tool that was used to create the images against the star backgrounds that Bessel had used. Fraunhofer wasn't involved directly in the first parallax understanding, you know, so that's the Königsberg one, 13.5-inch refractor, and it's got a heliometer fit on the end of it. There's the rods for working the micrometers nearly there. That's Königsberg 13.5-inch one. So Bessel decided that he'd got enough tools and he got enough information and he was confident with his star charts. He'd have a go at finding out how far away a star was. So you pick the nearest star. How do you know what that is? Well, you could say, let's look at the brightest stars, because they're roundly closer, but it turns out that doesn't work. There's no parallax of half of the bright stars. So he thought this one here, 61 Cygni, had already been identified as having a high proper motion. So that's, you know, remember we looked at the Barnard stars from 1950 to 2010. It moved a considerable distance against the sky background. So that was a reasonable assumption to make that it was closer anyway. So he picked that star and he divined separation against the star background of like 0.34, something like that, seconds of arc. And that equated then to, trigonometrically, that equated to 600,000 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun. So suddenly you think, wow, stars are a really long way away. That's say, I have to go back here a bit. Have to bear with me with these answers. Right, so anyway, here we go. There's our sun, there's the baseline, there's the angle that he measured, and he was less than 1 arc second. So that put the star 11 light years away. So is that's credible or not credible? So you had somebody else to go and do this. So the other refractor, the one at Königsberg, they did the same experiment and he looked at a different star, and sure enough he said he came up with an angle of less than 1 second of arc, but it put the star at like 7 or 8 light years away. So that was fine. Now guess what? A guy from Dundee, I need to look at this guy's name up. But yeah, a guy called Thomas Henderson, he's an attorney's clerk in Edinburgh. He'd been out in the Cape of Good Hope and recording star positions for the nautical world, so they could work out better longitudes for navigation. So when he came back, he'd heard about these investigations and he looked at his charts that he'd made and he measured the ones that he'd taken 1 year, another year, and he specifically found a star, Alpha Centauri it was, and it had a second of our parallax angle. So we use that now to say, this is what they call parsec is a measure of distance, and it just means parallax of 1 second next to it, give you that. So that is so many astronomical units along that line there, and that's the equivalent of 4 light years away. 4 light years is from 6 million miles to a light year times 4, so 24 million miles to the nearest star. So interesting. Using are we right? We're getting there anyway. This is like a snapshot from one of the Gaia satellite images, and they've been out in space measuring distances to map the galaxy and where we live in the whole scheme of things. Now they're measuring parallax angles of milli-arc seconds, right? So milli-arc seconds, so there's our second of arc there. 1,296 divisions on that scale, and they're using a millionth part, they're splitting that into another million parts to get their separation angle. And the guy that runs the whole Gaia thing said, when asked how they came to get these figures, he said that it does the mother of all calculations in the computer, and there you go. The milli-arc seconds, it's just almost borders on belief how small a movement that is. However, what would happen if we tried to do this ourselves? We've got better telescopes than that. We don't have one of these, but we certainly, I could find 61 Cygni, no problem. You can see it with your binoculars. If you had a telescope, you could get its position. Make the calculations. There's what it looks like in a telescope, and there's a reasonable background of stars to measure it against. Shouldn't be too difficult. There's its position in the star chart. But of course, the stars they're not the same every night. Some nights you collect a lot of, that's an exposure that can maybe last a minute and a half. If you run that exposure for another 30 seconds, you'd end up with lava. Which really does muddy the water, because when you're trying to compare one star to another over an angle less than a second of arc, you need something that you know is going to be the same as the last time you looked at it. So somebody from an amateur astronomy club, believe it or not, claims to have done just this using a camera. And there's the separation angle there. And that's plotted out on over a year. This includes the proper motion of the star. This is 61 Cygni. And you take out the proper motion and you're left with there. The star's moved over that. There's seconds of arc up there, so it's obviously gone from there to there. You measure that, it works out at 7 something light years, and the accepted distance is 7.86. So it should work, but I have to point out that what you're looking at there is the distance these two crosses apart are from a single pixel in the camera. Just one pixel in the whole camera. So it's pretty small, pretty small. So I'm going to have to come to some conclusion about this. I would say, when we look at the stars, you know, if we ask ourselves how far away they are, we're basing everything entirely on this couple of guys with their telescopes measured these angles and formed the foundation for using all these other crazy things like standard candles. And we now know, using all that information, stepped up the distance ladder from the parallax. We now know that the edge of the universe is 13.6 billion light years. You really need to think about that. That's an awful lot of miles. Isn't it? And it's all based on their early experiments. So it's kind of every single one of these is a rabbit hole to go down and investigate, but there just isn't time to do that. So this is really just about the principles of it, who did it, how they did it, and some of the difficulties that they had experienced when they were doing it. So that kind of wraps that up. Any questions?
I think, Dave, what we'll have to do is, because of the time, we'll need to, if people have got questions or want to discuss with you, we can do that in the tea break.
That's the time, yeah, sure. Okay, well, thanks very much for listening, guys.
Social media that we're involved in, and you might notice on the bottom there where you have reintroduced Flickr. That is our repository for high resolution astrophotographs. So when people send them in, we'll post them up there, and we can now link them to our website and display high resolution pictures, which is something we couldn't do before. So, club news. Our membership has risen to 53 plus. I found out from Lorraine tonight it's actually at 59, which is good, and there are still new members in the pipeline, so that's a good sign at the moment. What have we achieved over the last couple of months? Well, I sent out an email and put it on WhatsApp. We have decluttered and streamlined our website. It was an absolute mess. It definitely looks and functions better, and we are currently working with the website providers, Plexus Media, and we're migrating the website onto a modern and secure platform, and we're pretty sure we're going to have it in place for the end of this month, beginning of next month, so that's good news. Wonderful project we did. We installed a new shed, and I'm not going to say any more about that because I'm going to say something about that later. The observatory telescope, the main Meade telescope in the observatory, Jerry and I cleaned the corrective lens. It was just a little bit messy, wasn't it? The main eyepieces and the diagonal were also cleaned. We attempted to align it properly, but we haven't been successful in that, and we're just going to have to bite the bullet. So Jerry and I are going to go up on the first clear night, and we're going to align it from first principles, which basically means checking the level of the scope, the plinth, everything. So we'll get that done. Our outreach has started again, and we've got a youth group visiting programme to the observatory, and there's a couple at the back end of this month, isn't there, Pauline? Yeah. 6 altogether, right, so far. And We also were involved with Orkney International Science Festival at the beginning of September there. And if you want to look at a talk that I gave, it's aimed at beginners and it's all about observing the night sky and setting up how to take basic astrophotographs. So it's an easy watch. It's intended as an easy watch. There's a YouTube link on that slide, but probably I'll put it into the Stargazy Pie that you'll get shortly. Another achievement, we had our first of the season observance session. This was interesting because the night before, Jerry, I and Dave, we were up setting up and we had a lovely clear night. It was beautiful. And then the first night, of course, you will notice these things were there. But in actual fact, we had a great time because there was a few people turned up, members and new members. And we actually had a great chat, and it was a good couple of hours of what I would call what a club's about. It was just getting together, having a chat and talking about astronomy and our own lives and all kind of stuff. It was good fun. We are planning to have plenty of observing nights this season. We just hope the weather's going to be kinder to us than it was last season, but we're not in control of that. But we'll make sure that you guys all know about these observance sessions. Request to yourselves. I know many people don't like social media in general, and things like Facebook in particular, because they don't like the adverts, they don't feel secure with it. WhatsApp is our main communication social medium. It's about as secure as I think you can probably get. It's sorry? It's a bad.
Sorry, what's up with really bad platform? It's incredibly insecure. It's on.
Is it? Okay, well, okay.
They mess around with people's data all the time. I recommend Signal if anybody wants it. It does exactly the same thing.
Signal? I'll have a look at that, and I will have a look at it. At the moment we're using WhatsApp, so I would encourage it, but I will have a look at Signal, okay? Can you also just try and check your emails and your other social media if you're in them, because we do put out appeals for help at events and participating in events. There's things like observatory maintenance comes up, and it's getting good to come up if you can help out and hammer things in, or even just be there and just have a chat and make a cup of tea or whatever. Monthly meeting activities, we're looking for people to take part and do things here as well. So just check when we're asking for help and see if you can help us out. What as I say, after I've finished my bit here, I'm going to sit down at the tables and talk with them. Things like that, Signal, that would be a useful thing to come up in the conversations, anything like that. Want to pick up what it is you want and don't want in the club. And just think of everything, club meetings, observing sessions, just the general involvement in the club. Communications, people might want training, coaching, setting up of equipment, cameras, how to take pictures, anything at all. And it doesn't have to be limited to this discussion, you can send it in via email or whatever as well, but we need to know, otherwise all you get is what we, the committee, think you're wanting, and we could be way off track. So back into astronomy. Targets. This is the moon phase cycle. I always say to people, don't forget about the moon. Everybody goes on about trying to find galaxies and faint fuzzy things in the sky. The moon is a fantastic, easy target to observe. You can observe it with a naked eye, you can observe it with binoculars, telescope, camera, whatever. It's a great object to start on, and it's a great object to actually just dependently study. Once you start looking at the moon, it's amazing sort of how in love you fall with it. It's a fascinating subject, so don't forget about the moon. There is a partial solar eclipse at the end of the month on the 25th of October, and it peaks at about just before 11 a.m. in the morning. And we in the club are looking to set up an observing session for this. Dave, I think you're looking at UHI. There's a place that we go to if we get permission, like we did the last time. There's a lovely place that's a viewing platform with a very good horizon. And there's a cafe just at the back of it, so you can get sausage, rolls and sausage, and all kinds of coffee and tea. If we can't get that, we'll set up at the observatory up at Cologne in any case. So again, check your emails and the social media for us asking for help or confirming where it's going to be. The other one is that the third week in October, the Orion and Meteor shower peaks on the night of Thursday the 21st, early morning of Friday the 22nd. But there is plenty of activity either side of that. And I don't think there's very much moon for this one either, so keep your eye out for that. With a bit of luck, we might get some aurora as well. We shall be out there chasing our aurora and hopefully get some pictures of meteors as well. But this is something we can do as a club, and we can help people set up their cameras as well to take meteor shots. So we're certainly considering holding a session up at the observatory. As I say, the peak night's Thursday and 23 Friday, but 1 or 2 nights either side of that, it's still pretty good. So into the Astropics. Well, we all started off with our usual, there wasn't a lot going about, so we do all our atmospheric clouds and sunsets, and these are a couple of bonny ones. There's one just at the back of my house, and there's Lisa up the back of Davidson there, isn't it? And just bonny sunsets. So just bonny, and there's actually, that's Jupiter. But this month has been pretty spectacular. It's a kind of magic. This is a device that Lisa has built, and it's tuned into the basically KP index, isn't it, of this webcast, and it changes colour depending on how strong the geomagnetic activity is, and the stronger it is, I think it was red, and really strong is purple, and you have actually had a couple of purple nights, haven't you? So Lisa gets this ping off in her room. She goes on WhatsApp, lets us know, goes out, and she then on WhatsApp puts back of the camera photo shots, and you go, oh crikey, I'm definitely going out now. So we all end up running out, and then you start to see the good pictures coming in. So these are some taken by Lisa. This is early September and absolutely beautiful. There's your green arch, but with your purple and red and pink rays dancing off it. Beautiful. I'm just going to flick through because there's a whole heap of them. There's a couple of people who are really good in the club that are taking these. Look at these. These are spectacular. And this is here. This is local, you know. So. Fantastic rays, very, very active at the moment. And this is after I think you got back after taking pictures, and there's a little gap in the clouds. And this is bright red. This is strong. This is really, really powerful geomagnetic activity. Yeah. And Liz Peck, she takes her pictures in Nairn. And she's got a wonderful vista, there are several vistas that she takes her pictures from. And again, she's captured some beautiful arches, the rays dancing. There's your plough, so you're looking virtually due north. Look at that, a little bit of light pollution there, but beautiful glow. Look at this. Some of these are visible to the naked eye, they're that strong. You don't see the bright green colour like this. The cameras are picking up all the colour data, and Lisa and Liz are both processing that to bring it out. But it's there. These you can definitely see it, and you can see the rays, you can see the movement, you can see the curtains dancing. Look at that. That's near the beach. Just absolutely spectacular. I haven't seen any Untitled ones recently. You know, he gets Duffus Castle, I think, is his place, isn't it? Yeah. Look at that. That's near the pier. Beautiful. And Dennis Kaczynski up at Inverness. This is one he got, and that's I love this one because look at that. Isn't that fantastic? The plough. So you know exactly where you are with this. Now, the last couple of nights, I think the geomagnetic activity has been as high as it's been for 6 years.
No, we had G6.
And we were clouded out. And on the all-side camera, I could see a glow behind that cloud. And it was frustrating because you were getting reports in from Norfolk and photographs coming in from Norfolk of Aurora, kind of close to that, actually, to be honest. So, had we not had cloud, I wonder what we would have been seeing. It would have been amazing. Okay. Alright, this is the All-Sky camera, and this is the middle of September, 15th day. Now, this was I think it was nearly a full moon. So that's what that is. But look at that, that aurora was so strong you could still see it. This is the north. North is on the right hand side, south is on the left. But you can actually see the auroral arch and you can see the dancers coming off it, even in bright moonlight. So that's just showing how powerful these are at the moment. And this is a friend of Lisa's who's currently based in Norway. I'm hoping this works. But this was on a Sony camera.
No, that's with iPhone.
Oh, is that an iPhone? Sorry, okay. Well, there you go. It's that good. You take it on an iPhone on just night settings, isn't it? That's just absolutely stunning. And that's live. That's what they get.
Is that in real time?
Isn't that amazing, Judy? And using an iPhone, there's Andy, who took a crescent moon through his iPhone. So, you know, these cameras, the cameras on smartphones nowadays are so good that you can start to take, you know, basic to good astro pictures. Full moon rising, I like this one, Dave. That was the harvest moon, the 9th of September. And look at this. This is Sue Shackleton, one of our members up in Orkney. And the harvest moon, it's really low on the horizon, so it's all distorted through the atmosphere. It's like looking at a brick in the bottom of a swimming pool, but isn't that bonny? It looks huge. Not as big, I suppose, but yeah. Dave, early morning moon. You like the early mornings and the late nights, yeah. And just a day or two later, he just caught it. He caught a real sliver just before the moon vanishes in its cycle. John Rosenfield, this is just the foot of the Cairngorms. You've got that's Jupiter and the moon, and this one you've seen there, this is the one I plotted out. That's so that was the moon and Jupiter from Lisa. Jupiter is really, really bright at the moment. If you've got a little scope, this is worth pointing it to it. It's close to us as well, relatively close. You'll easily see the band, you'll easily see the red spots in the Galilean moons. And there's again another iPhone picture of Jupiter. So it's that bright that an iPhone's picking these up. And this is the one, we posted this one on Facebook. It's had lots and lots of views, to be honest with you. That's not an easy picture to take because it's you have to overexpose the planet in order that you get the moons. It's a really difficult one not to actually blow out. But you've managed to catch all 4 Galilean moons. And if Dave took this a few hours later, those moons would all be in a different position because they all about that fast around Jupiter. That's an exercise that's worth doing for yourself, whether you're observing or photographing. The all-sky camera never ceases to provide at least one good image in the month. This is a star trail image. This is a whole night's images all stacked together. And there is the bright track of Jupiter, the bright track of Saturn. You can see the different colours of the stars, tied into what Dave was talking about, one of the ways of measuring the distance of stars. But look at these things, there are masses of things going on at the moment. These are, whether they're meteors or space debris, I have no idea. Sporadic type things, but there's lots of little bright satellite flashes as well. There's tons of things going on in the night sky. If you were out at the time those were, you would easily see these, your eye would be drawn to them, because these ones would be so bright. Oh yeah. Well, there was tons. Yeah. I don't know if anybody saw a news report, but there was a massive fireball spotted over Central Belt, Galloway, Northern Ireland, a huge thing. In fact, it was detected on doorbell cams and all kinds of things. And I went into the all-sky camera and just checked, and it was very low on our horizon, but that was it. That was the fireball. Had that been slightly further up, that would have been a spectacular image on that all-sky camera. This is one of the bright flashes that Dave was talking about when we were up at the observing night, or setting up for the observing night. There was lots of these, and that was like that was a meteor actually. It was disintegrating. You can see it. There's a brightness, and then the final brightness as it disappears. But there must have been 5 or 6 that we saw between us. Yeah. And again, here's another smartphone camera picture of the International Space Station. So there you see it. I can't remember how many guys are on board. There's quite a lot at the moment. But again, smartphone, you're able to pick up and record these things nowadays. Deep sky, this is, Dave, I think this was just a telephoto lens, isn't it? It's not even a telescope. 300mm telephoto lens on a digital camera, yeah, on that mount. And that is the Great Globular Cluster in Hercules M13. That's the Andromeda Galaxy, and that 32 and 110, I think they're there somewhere. Yeah. And this one, which I always like looking at, I always think it looks better when I'm looking at the back of the camera when you're doing it. And this is M33, the Pinwheel Galaxy. That used to be such a hard galaxy to photograph, and it's not actually that difficult anymore, is it? Yeah. A minute and a half. That was quite a long exposure. Yeah. This is Neil Weston from Aberdeen Astronomical Society. So Neil took one of the dumbbell or apple core nebula, and he processed it in non-standard colours, which I think is quite good. Normally you see this in turquoisey, green and red, but he decided to use a different palette. But there's a tremendous amount of structure in that. And again, Neil's an amateur like ourselves, and he obviously had a good sky that night. That was the very end of August actually. But he must have had a good sky to get that. And good focus, you can tell by that little diffraction spike there, perfect focus. This is the James Webb Space Telescope. A fantastic image. It's a near infrared, is it? Wavelengths they're taking pictures, and this is Neptune. And not only you can see different things on the surface, on the clouds, but look at the rings. There's a fantastic ring system, which everybody knows is there, but it's really come up well in the wavelengths that they capture. And look at all the moons. All the moons around there. I think that's a wonderful picture. But there's an even more amazing thing. Just a few days ago, the DART spacecraft was impacted on Dimorphos, which is a moonlet of the larger asteroid Didymos, if you pronounce it. And both Hubble and the Webb scope caught the moment of impact. That's it, impacted and then thrown all the debris into space. Wonderful picture. And this is the onboard camera on the DART spacecraft in the last few minutes and seconds of it as it's about to crash into the moonlet. And there you go, you can see it a few kilometres away, getting closer. Now last night I was watching one of these humorous quiz programmes on the telly, and they said, oh yes, this is your cup of tea looking at a hobnob being dumped into yourselves. I can't look at this now without thinking of a hobnob being dumped into a cup of tea. Pretty good. But isn't that amazing? And of course the experiments will be over the next year or two to see whether that impact has actually moved the asteroid, the moonlet out of orbit, and see whether that's a valid technique for protecting the Earth from near-Earth asteroids or near-Earth objects crashing into. But my favourite productivity this month has got to be this. It was the shed. Now, we were cruel and heartless and we evicted a peacock butterfly that was lying underneath the floor of the old one. And here's the heavy lifters. There's Jerry, and a big thanks to Jerry, because Jerry managed this project from start to finish, got worked out the shed, got it all ordered up and paid for and everything like that. But Gary needs a big mention as well. Gary did an awful lot of work on the day. He really did. He's a big fella, of course, so we know we're going to use him to lift things, but he really did a pig of work, and I know he's not here tonight, but big thanks to him as well. This is what happens when you work, of course. You have one person working and three others are supervising you. It's just the way it is. But we had to get the thing level. But it was good fun. There was a lot of banter going on, as you can imagine, but yeah, it was good fun. But what I'm hoping is that this was a summary of what went on. Okay. What was it? That's it for. We'll wait for the next one. Yeah. I'll try and work out the same thing. I haven't quite got the hang of that yet, but that's it for me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut down this, and then we're going to sit at the tables and just have a chat with you about just the club in general, to give us a few ideas of how best to run the club over the next few months. It's strange getting back together again, it's good, but it definitely feels different from a few years ago, and we've got a chance to change things, get out of the formula, get out of the way we have always done things, to make sure it's a club for the members. Okay, so thank you for that. Good.